Who is the worst adaptation for every Spider-Man character? This is going to be just like the last video, but flipped. Instead of the best, we're going to talk about the worst. Just the abominations to the eyes in terms of adaptations. Not all of them will be horrible. Sometimes we're just going to have to choose the worst of great options because a lot of these characters have phenomenal adaptations only. I'm probably going to say some stuff you don't agree with in this video. I'm probably going to say a lot of stuff you don't agree with in this video. I'm hating on it. So if I'm going to be hating on something and you like it, you're going to be upset about it. Bring those upset feelings to the comment section down below. Let me know. Make your voice heard. Tell me what I did wrong. And let's start the video. But first, let me just say, you guys should subscribe. I make a lot of content just like this video and other videos like this, and I work my ass off for it. So you should subscribe and check out more of these videos. Thanks. Peace. Let's get to the topic. Spider-Man. The worst Spider-Man adaptation of all time is the Avengers video game. This adaptation is soulless. They did not care about Spider-Man at all when adding him to this game. It flat out sucks. It feels like the developers did not even try. The web swinging is horrific. It's like you're swinging underwater, which doesn't make sense, but that's how it feels. The voice acting is decent, but you can tell the directors were like, sound as timid and afraid as you possibly can at all times. Spider-Man's not this scared little baby. He's a hero. The skins are trash. This is it, everyone. The worst Spider-Man, and it's in the Avengers game. You don't have to look very hard. You don't have to look very far. Came out within the last 5 years. We all remember him. He sucks. He's trash. We're moving on. Miles. I don't want to harbor on this one for too long. That damn kid show is going to ruin an entire generation by getting them to call freaking Miles Spin. What kind of name is Spin? I'm not going to harp on this for too long, but seriously, Spin? Venom. Venom is a character who has had some decent adaptations. There's also some real ones in my opinion as well. Whether the adaptation has an Eddie Brock that just doesn't convince me he's Eddie Brock, the character Venom himself is missing his entire origin, or he's just a big monster. There's two adaptations that stand out as the worst among them all though. Spider-Man Unlimited has Venom and Carnage as brothers, and I hated it. That's just not their dynamic at all. They're father and son, and they hate each other. They hate each other. They can't stand each other. And I needed more of that. They didn't get any of that, actually. Also, there's no bones in these symbiotes. They just turn to liquid like Hydro. I hate that, too. This one just got it all wrong. And I'm not going to let Insomniac 2 Venom slide. He's not getting a pass either. Nah, buddy. You're not making it out of this one. This ain't Eddie, and that's already a problem. It's also not Venom, and that's a huge problem. It's none of his motivations. The character's just wrong. It's quite literally like someone saw an image of Venom online, then made their own fanfic headcanon as to what the character should be. The character is not a screaming, hulking monster 24/7. He's a goofy, fun dude. Even when he's a villain, he's a goofy, fun dude. This is all wrong. MJ. It's got to be Kirsten Dunst. I actually am not too big of a hater of Kirsten Dunst's performance. I think there's a lot to like about it, honestly, and I think a lot of people hate it for the wrong reasons. You'll hear about how she's always screaming and she's a damsel in distress. And although I do think Mary Jane should not be displayed or portrayed as a damsel in distress, come on, she's super powerful. That's not her thing. I do think we have to factor in the fact that she is definitely a random civilian and she's being attacked by super-powered freaks constantly. Yeah, again, Mary Jane shouldn't be shown cowering in fear, but you put a random civilian in any of these situations and they're going to cower in fear. So it's not like that part's not believable. No, my biggest issue with MJ is all of the cheating. I hate cheating. I'm not about that stuff. I'm very against cheating. So for me to see MJ, my perfect love interest for Spider-Man, cheat in every single movie in this trilogy, it's just like, what the Gwen. I'm not going to do any Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen comparisons because I didn't do that in the last one either. I think Gwen and Spider-Gwen are just totally different characters, so there's no point even trying to put the two together. But Gwen really has had some really adaptations all around. In the comics, her personality is really just kind of bland. It's like a cardboard. It's like watching paint dry. She's super boring in the comics. So it's tough for me to choose between an adaptation that portrays her as a character that's a character or a character that's super boring. Because in the comics, she's super boring. But I want to see an actual character, right? Emma Stone is an actual character. But I would never say Emma Stone is the worst Gwen Stacy. Even if it's not like the comics. It gave life to the character and gave new meaning to the character for so many people. Far from the worst. Probably the best. Actually, it is the best. I said it was the best. Honestly, to me, Remy's Gwen Stacy is the worst. She exists solely just to be someone who causes drama within Peter and MJ's relationship. Which, in my opinion, is a role that should be more for Black Cat, but even then, I don't love that notion either. Gwen doesn't even cause the drama purposefully. It just kind of is set up all around her, and the drama just happens, and then she feels like she's at fault. You kind of just feel bad for Gwen in this. She's being led astray the whole time. She doesn't really get a chance to shine either. This just wasn't the performance for me. Aunt May, a character who really has no poor portrayals. I'm going to go with Ultimate Spider-Man Aunt May because I just don't like how she's like this. She's super involved with this superhero life. That's not for me. Aunt May is more involved with the Peter Parker life of stuff and helping him out there. I like that more. Now we're splitting hairs though because Aunt May's just so good. Uncle Ben. This one actually isn't splitting hairs. This one is very easy. The 2017 Uncle Ben from the cartoon is horrible. It's so lame and cringy. They lean way too hard into this like science stuff and even make great power comes great responsibility a math equation. It's so corny. Harry Osborn, the Amazing Spider-Man film was not it. Dane DeHaan is not a bad actor by any means, but they gave him no favors with this script and this costume design. Holy moly, this is tragically bad and horrible. It's plain awful. I don't even want to look at it for another second. Get it off the screen. Flash. MCU Flash is bad. I don't think he sells the bully part at all. And then he's got like this sad, unloving family thing going on for him, but it's hard to care about because he's just a little twerp douchebag. If you gave the Amazing Spider-Man Flash this kind of home life, it would be way more impactful. It would make way more sense. Black Cat, Web of Shadows. Black Cat is portrayed as the antithesis to MJ, which is just not at all who she is. She's more of like a morally gray character. She's devious, sure, and she commits crimes here and there, but she's usually committing these crimes to help out other people or, steal from people who deserve being stolen from. And it's also usually just theft. She's not the Goblin Queen. She's not there trying to push Peter to end the world and become supervillain. In her eyes, for the most part, she's helping people out most of the time. Showing her cheering on evil Peter, it's just wrong. It's wrong. Green Goblin. Spider-Man Unlimited Green Goblin. The dude's a good guy here, and that just ain't right. I think it's a cool adaptation that he's working to protect the city, and help them out. But the Green Goblin's doing that. I want to see him as Spider-Man's arch nemesis. It's an adaptation, so that's what I'm looking for. Doc Ock. This one was probably the hardest. I don't think there was a harder one besides maybe Aunt May. These are the two toughest ones, which is funny because there are a couple in the comics for a little bit, and I don't even hate that either. But Marvel Disc Wars. I had to do some digging because most of Doc Ock's adaptations are godlike, like I just said. But what is this thing? Apparently villains get uploaded to a disc by Loki. The more I've seen from it, the less I want to see from it, so we're going to move on. Kingpin. Trial of the Incredible Hulk. First off, I don't even know what this is. I had to dig online to find this. Another character who does not have a lot of adaptations, I had thought. But this one is just, what the heck am I looking at? This guy's got freaking hair. Who the f*** is this guy? I know that you're thinking, you said Michael Clark Duncan is one of the best ones. He's not even white. That's black. He steals everything Kingpin is, though. He's intimidating. He's a boss. He's imposing. Even though he's black. It doesn't matter. He was looking like Kingpin, and he felt like Kingpin. This guy, bruh, who is this guy? This guy doesn't look or feel anything like Kingpin. Who is this man's? Bruh, this is Gimli? Like the dwarf troll from Lord of the Rings? Huh? Rhino. The Amazing Spider-Man Rhino is horrible. Paul Giamatti's accent is horrible. This whole inclusion in the movie is horrible. It didn't have to be in the movie at all. What we got saddled up with is just bad. One of my all-time favorite Spider-Man characters, and he's just reduced to this? Are you serious? Can we show the accent just for a little bit more? God, it's terrible, man. That accent's just terrible. Carnage. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Carnage is probably my favorite Spider-Man/Venom villain. When I heard that Venom 2 would feature Carnage, I knew right away it was going to be awful. Carnage's biggest and best stories are Venom and Spider-Man teaming up to stop Carnage. Except the Venom universe has no Spider-Man, so that alone had me thinking this would be bad. But then they did so much weird stuff on their own to make it even worse. Outside of Carnage and Cletus not being a perfect match, which already ruins the character, straight up, that's what they're all about. They're perfect symbiotic symbiosis, whatever, but they're perfect match. The movie also does this random notion where they make it like red symbiotes are stronger for some reason. I don't really know what they did. I don't know why they used it. It was just so weird and random. In a perfect world, we would have had Matthew Lillard playing Cletus Cassidy, and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man would have came back to help Venom take him down, but this is what we got. Sandman. Honestly, you'd think he'd have more appearances than he does. And when he's usually portrayed well, or just given no story and he's just a big sand monster. So, again, it was hard for me to pick the worst adaptation. So I went with the adaptation that just pissed me off. Sandman, I hated you in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Holy moly, does this fight suck. It feels incredibly reminiscent to the Lego Marvel Sandman fight, which also sucks. But at least it's in a Lego Marvel game, where the physics are supposed to be wonkier, it's harder to move around, you're doing specific stuff to beat a guy, otherwise you would just be mashing buttons on some dude who would just blow up instantly. I get it why it's like this in the Lego game. I do not get why it's like this in the Ultimate Alliance 3 game. It's the third Ultimate Alliance game. It came out after Lego Marvel. They had so much stuff they could have improved on. But then we get this. It's one of the first bosses, too. I hated it. Kraven. Spectacular Spider-Man doing the whole half-breed thing just doesn't work for me. I actually think it's terrible. He's supposed to be a hunter. He's not supposed to be mixed with the hunted. The whole thing for me just doesn't work. Shocker. MCU Shocker. I almost didn't put him on this list because I forgot he even existed. Huh? Shocker in the MCU gets no costume, doesn't really use gauntlets, and he doesn't really use vibrations either. Maybe in a future installment we can see a more refined version of the character, who's wearing a costume and uses the character's abilities. But as of now, this is by far easily the worst Shocker. Electro. The 90s animated series. 90s animated series is known for having peak character adaptations. Besides Electro. It's weird when a show has done such faithful adaptations so far, and then they just flip the script completely for one character. Sure, there are some changes from the comics, but they're usually streamlined stuff to trim the fat out, This Electro is just totally different from the comics. He doesn't even have the same name. It's not Max Dillon, his name is Reinhold Schmidt. And he's the Red Skull's son, and the adopted brother of the Chameleon. What? Already way off bases here. He even at one point is said to have become the second Red Skull and take up his father's mantle. In the comics, Electro is a shockingly bland villain. And I made that pun on purpose, yes. But I much prefer a bland, bank-robbing loser to just a literal Nazi who becomes the son of Marvel's most known Nazi. What a wild change for the character. Lizard. Lizard, much like Sandman, doesn't have the most appearances, and when he appears, he's usually very easy to adapt. Kurt Connors wants to heal his arm, so he takes a lizard serum, which turns him into like a Jekyll Hyde situation and becomes a lizard a lot of the time. It's not very hard. And Jekyll and Hyde is hundreds of years old, or at least 100 years old, so we all know the story. But it's hard to find a bad lizard adaptation out there. I found a horrible one, though. He really does not belong in this game at all. I don't really understand what he's doing here. Marvel Superheroes 3D Grandmaster. It's a game for the Wii. I've never played it. It looks terrible as well, so I'm glad I've never played it. But I don't know why this guy's even here. We're going to look at these villains real quick. You've got Doctor Doom, Juggernaut, Lizard Man, the Red Skull, and the Grand Master. Okay, so let's look at them again. Doctor Doom. He could literally end the world under the right circumstance. He's a monster. Juggernaut, same thing. Could end the world under the right circumstance. He's a monster. The Grand Master, same thing. Could end the world if he wanted. Monster. The Red Skull is a freaking Nazi who tried to take over the world before and has launched large-scale attacks on the world before. A monster. And then you have the Lizard, who's apparently Lizard Man in this. He's a small-scale street villain who, sometimes hurts people, but he doesn't mean to. Why is he here? I don't even understand. The whole game's mechanic, too, it's like you're just dodging and swinging back. Like one of those rail shooter games from the 90s and early 2000s. But the Lizard doesn't even use guns. He's just spitting acid at you. Couldn't they just use Green Goblin? He's more popular and he throws stuff. His whole inclusion here just makes no sense. Was Green Goblin busy? I don't get it. Mysterio. Spider-Man 2. And no, not Insomniac Spider-Man 2. We're talking about the movie game. Mysterio's in it. And his design is pretty garbo in my opinion. His head's got a major Eye of Saruman color going on. His voice actor is not it for me.
I'm determined that your plan is right.
It's very high pitched and I don't like that. No flame to the voice actor. Also, swinging to grab these things felt impossible. Maybe it's because I was so young when I was playing this game and I was younger and dumber than I am now, which is saying something because I'm still pretty young and pretty dumb. But this was so hard, legitimately hard for me to do. Vulture. 2017 Spider-Man cartoon Vulture. Not only do I hate his design, but I just generally don't like the idea of every villain being a former or current teacher at the same or rival school. It's boring to me, and the design sucks yet again, let me mention that. JJJ. This one is tough. Most of them are just J.K. Simmons being the greatest casted comic book character of all time. And the ones that don't have him are usually still phenomenal. I'm looking at you, 90s and Spectacular. You guys both still managed to pull it out without J.K. Simmons. Kudos. I would say Spider-Man Unlimited is the worst one, but that's just because of how little he's shown. I really don't know if there's a bad J. Jonah Jameson out there. I think that just about wraps it up. We did the worst ones. I really didn't mean to flame them as hard as I did. And if I flamed something you loved, I really want to apologize. It was not my intention to make you feel bad. If I did go against something you said and you want to make your voice heard, you should go down below and comment that and let me know. Give it to me straight. I will catch you guys in the next video. Dunk out. Peace.